Welcome to Pera's Playbook. This is your host, Alex Pera. Let's open up our playbook and see who our guest is. Please enjoy. Let's do it. Welcome to episode 158 of Pera's Playbook. Today we're joined by Jonathan Cohen. He's an actor and a stuntman. He's been in a ton of projects. A few most recently are Expendables 4, Indiana Jones, Dial of Destiny. He's been in a ton of films for stunts and also some acting. So we're happy to have him here and to dive into some stunts. How's it going?
Good. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too. I'm glad to have you on. I think you're the third true stuntman that's been on the podcast here recently. And I feel, it's really interesting to learn about the stunt world. I was talking about it with one of the other guys. It's kind of not talked about. People don't necessarily talk about the kind of behind the scenes stuff the stunt guys do. But it's very interesting. And that's kind of why I wanted to dive into that a little bit more.
Yeah.
So your dad was a director. You
He was.
grew up around films, but why did you decide to go specifically into stunts and not acting or a different part of the film world?
To tell you the truth, it wasn't a conscious decision. So basically the story was this. I got a job as a runner on a movie shortly after my father passed away. Unfortunately, he passed away when I was quite young. I was 17. And a buddy of his that was in the industry gave me a job as a runner on a movie because it was a good way to kind of look at, just look at the different sides to the process of making a movie. But instead of just being a kid strolling around the set, this time I had a job.
Yeah.
And really, like, being a runner, that kind of thing is a very good way just to sort of see the different aspects of all aspects of how a movie gets put together,
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. So then what was your first step into getting into doing stunts?
Right. So the first step into stunts was just that I met quite a legendary stunt performer called Rocky Taylor, who just celebrated his 80th birthday. And Rocky basically met me, and at the time I was probably about 22, and just said to me, "Listen, you seem like like a kind of a fit kid. Why don't you consider getting into stunts and getting into that side of the industry?"
Yeah. So did you have an athletic background?
Sorry, just 1 second, Alex. Lau, you'll have to keep her. She won't understand. Sorry, my little daughter has just strolled up to me.
No,
Wants to know what
no
I'm
worries.
doing.
No worries. You're good. So did you have an athletic background as a kid? Like, did you play sports and were you into different, athletic type things? I feel like a lot of stunt people did something, martial arts, dancing, whatever it is.
No, I did, but when I started, my way of expressing myself as a kid was, uh, like karate in school, you know.
Yeah.
And for some kids, it's just the way you kind of, it's the way you find yourself, right?
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So would you say that you have a specific stunt specialty, like something that's kind of your main thing, or I mean, do you just
No,
do
no,
anything?
not at all. I'm kind of the guy that you call for. Really, it can be a random job. It can be falling out a window, crashing a car into a tree. It can be, it really can be anything. It can be falling off a horse, doing a
Yeah.
fight scene. Um, yeah. So, to be honest, the guys that are specialists, there aren't that many. And the guys that are specialists would be, for example, let's say, because somebody had been like a world-class rally driver, for example.
Right.
Yeah. Or a kind of a GP level motorcyclist, you know? Now
Right.
those guys are gonna drive the shit out of me, right?
Yeah.
Because the thing is that, it doesn't matter how many courses I've done or how much practicing I've done or how good I might think I am, or even how much experience I've had on set level. So it's almost like yeah, I can do some gymnastics, right? But if you
Yeah.
put me in with an Olympic gymnast, it's like, nah,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So you see the way it works in Britain is we have something called the Stunt Register. I don't know how much about this, and any potential stunt people have to uh, basically train in 6 skills, right?
Okay.
But out of those 6 skills, the list could be like there could be 35 things you could choose, but you have to choose 6 um, as a minimum, and then in each of those 6 skills, there'll be like a minimum requirement that you need. For example, martial arts may be a brown belt or above. If you let's say I don't know, if you're a trampolinist, then it will be in my day it was called, I think it was called like an elite gold, but whatever it is, there'll be like a certification that you have to study in 6 different disciplines. And that can be, driving, riding, martial arts, scuba diving, highboard diving, parachuting. There's a whole list of things. And the idea of having quite a diverse list is so that the people that are interested in getting involved can choose, because maybe certain things are maybe less expensive to train in. Certain things maybe lend themselves more to what that particular person is interested in doing. You see what I mean?
Yeah. No, totally. Um, so then I guess a follow-up question to kind of go with
Oh,
that is, do
yeah.
most stunt people work on a crew, or are they independent contractors?
Mostly independent contracts. You can be part of yeah, mostly independent. Are you referring to maybe stunt teams?
Yeah, okay, maybe yeah, like so like maybe there's a
The-
bunch of guys on a
I keep,
team. Can you hear me?
yeah.
So yeah, I guess what I was asking is, you're talking about all these different disciplines that people can train on,
Mhm.
and is there a
Yeah.
team, and then on the team you'll have one guy that's special, or one guy that's got all these different talents and another guy that's got these talents, or is it more, hey, these are my talents, and then you're an independent contractor on your own?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. Okay, I think like to answer your question a different way. So you've got a stunt coordinator, right?
Yeah.
The stunt coordinator will have gone to pre-production meetings on the movie. He'll have gone through the script. He'll have done a breakdown of what's required specifically for that movie, stunt-wise.
Right.
Yeah. And then the team will be pulled together from a mixture of people that have got different skills. Um, Required to fulfill what's needed on that movie. So you might have one guy that's a great double for Brad Pitt, for example, right?
Yeah.
And let's say Brad Pitt has got a whole bunch of fights to do. So you may have one stunt double to double him for the fights. But let's say Brad Pitt also has to look like a world class motorcyclist. So the same stunt double that has been doing the fights for him may not be also good enough on a motorcycle. So they may have another stunt double to double him for the motorcycle stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and then you've got kind of the background guys who obviously, like in a shoot, you've got lots of action going on in the background. You've got people that the lead actor has to fight with, or
Right.
be sat next to in a car when there's an explosion. So it can be like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. So you tend to find in a team, you usually get like a whole bunch of people with different skills. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
And
think, like, certainly in the UK, we don't have so many specific teams. It's more about the stunt coordinator kind of having, a few guys and girls that he trusts and he's worked with before. So they'll kind of and then they'll bring in other people as they need them. That makes sense?
right. Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. So let's kind of go and dive into a few projects. Like I'm a big Harry Potter fan. Love the books, movies, everything. And you did Deathly Hollows Part One
Okay.
and Two. So like, what kind of stunts were you doing for the film? What were your roles?
We had quite a mixture on that. We had like when we were doing Death Eater stuff, we did quite a lot of wire work because we had to suddenly fly up into the sky. You know, that
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So there was quite a lot of wire work on it. We had fight scenes, which were again more kind of, they were quite stylized, weren't they? Because it was a kids movie. But yeah, we had there was some fire stunts in it, but again, they didn't have. We were limited to what they wanted to show because they didn't want it to become too like nasty.
Right.
Yeah,
Is that
makes
is
sense.
that is that harder to do when they want you to like limit it, right? Because they don't. I mean, because you're a little bit restricted. Does that make it more difficult?
It just means we get to have less fun. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, the best thing is just when they say we've got lots of money and go ahead, do stunts. But
right,
it's usually not quite as simple as that.
right, right.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, yeah. There
so what
was there was
about
also quite a lot of driving stuff in Harry Potter, and
yeah?
yeah.
So what about a film like London Has Fallen, right? An action film, lots
Hmm.
of explosions, lots of fighting. Is that one where you had a little bit more free range to have fun, as you as you said? You there?
Yeah. I think try as much as we can. You know.
I think I lost you there for a
Yeah, I can hear
second.
you. Can you hear me?
I
Hello, hello.
can now. You were frozen
Okay,
there for a little bit.
you got me now. Okay, so I was just saying that like CGI and AI and that kind of thing is what we try and stay away from as much as possible.
Yeah,
And the best thing is if you have a director who likes stunts and likes working with stunts. Yeah, I mean
yeah,
probably the like we just finished Mission Impossible.
right.
Uh, And I mean that's a great one because you know how much Tom Cruise loves stunts,
Yeah. Oh
right?
yeah.
And and he not only does he like doing them, but he's very kind of um supportive of stunt people.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and in movies that he's involved in, he likes to he likes to movies that he's involved in. He likes to actually show stunts and perform stunts.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think like
Um,
what you said, I mean a real explosion looks better than a CGI explosion.
to come off your face. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I was
Um, yeah.
I was talking to a different guy in stunts. He's done a lot of stunt performing and coordinating, and he said sometimes it's nice to have a blend where you start off with something real. Maybe you have a car roll four times, and then the computer takes over, and it might roll it a few more times because you can't get it
Yeah.
to. So you
Yeah.
have
I
like a
think.
blend of
Uh,
connecting real and computer.
yeah, absolutely. Because sometimes you can like we can roll the car four times, but then they might want it to land on a specific angle or in a specific position. And I agree. I think the reality is that the future is going to be a blend of what's real and what's not, you know. And
Right.
I think no matter how much we fight that, you know, technology's here, right?
Right. Yeah.
You know, we can't avoid that. We have to just play along as best we can, you know.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
well, speaking of kind of a blend, I'm a love Game of Thrones, and I watched all the behind the scenes, how they filmed certain episodes, and in season 6 they had a whole kind of how they filmed Battle of the Bastards, and
yeah.
used a lot of, like, we have 100 guys, and then they use the computer to make it look like an entire army and blending
Right,
layers and all this stuff. But that looked like a tremendous undertaking to film that specific episode.
dude. Let me tell you, that was a real battle. Everything you see there was real.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean that was incredible to be part of, and in a way, it wasn't until it was put together that we realized how epic it was.
Right.
I think people are going to be talking about Battle of the Bastards, you know, for years.
Yeah.
And it's a reference point now for so many movies that want to have like a kind of medieval style battle, right?
Right.
Like I hear it all the time. So many directors refer back to Battle of the Bastards, and you know, which is great. And you know, when you're making it, you kind of you don't really know how it's going to turn out,
Yeah.
you know. But I can tell you this: it was hard work. It was you know, really long days. Like Northern Ireland rarely has good weather. Uh, you know.
Yeah.
So we, you know, we let's put it this way: we earn our money on it.
Right.
You know.
Right, for sure. And you did a lot
Yeah.
on Game of Thrones, right? I mean, you did a lot of different episodes that you were part of the stunts
I,
for.
yeah, yeah, I consider myself pretty fortunate. I was on it from. I didn't do season one, and I started on Game of Thrones on season two, uh, and then pretty much worked on it till the end. Yeah,
Yeah. That's awesome.
yeah. So you know, and also just from a kind of job security point of view, it was nice to know that every year I had a few months on that show.
Right.
You know, which is great because you know, obviously our industry is you know, it's unpredictable, right?
Yeah. Right, job
I mean,
security is always
everything
nice.
is unpredictable to some extent, but I think the film industry is a notorious industry. So you know that was yeah, I'm grateful for that job because I did a lot of different stunts on it, and we did some really amazing stuff. You know, for that was we did some huge fire stuff. You know, like I mean,
Yeah.
world record fire stuff. You know,
Right.
um, yeah, and we had a great team. The stunt coordinator was a guy called Rowley Earlham, and you know, really looked after us. And you know, yeah, it was good. It's good, hard work, you know, but good.
Right. And just a
I mean,
tremendous
you probably
I was just gonna say, just like a
go
tremendous
ahead.
outcome. It just the way it turned out, it's a masterpiece. I mean, regarded as one of the best TV shows ever, and
I
there's good
know.
reason for that.
I know, and I think you know, and in a way, Alex, it didn't feel like being on a TV show. It felt like a movie.
Right.
Every episode felt like a movie, and it felt like it was just getting bigger and bigger. It was weird,
Right.
you know. And
Yeah.
I think they became more confident, kind of throwing money at it as well, because they realized how huge it was, and you know what a following it had, and yeah, it was you know it was cool.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
in many ways.
I think they talked about that kind of how each episode you have the budget of a TV show, but you're like you said, you're basically making a movie. So you're
Yeah.
trying to do all this big stuff, but with a lower budget than a movie would have.
Yeah, but you know, not that low towards the end.
Okay.
You know, they realized that the hugeness of the show kind of, it was almost like what they invested, they got back.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
hundreds of times over, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but so many memorable things about that show. I remember we did a run of 57 nights in a row. Working at night, 57 of them. For one of the battles, and the
Yeah.
sequences, and it just, there was so many things about it. Everything was bigger than the year before,
Was that for the long night in the
Right.
final season? That the
Yeah,
57 nights in a row? Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a guy who was he did some extra work and he
Yeah,
touched on that episode
yeah,
and how cold it was and how hard it was.
yeah. Yeah. Just out of interest, you said you'd had other stunt people on. Were they from the UK or from other countries?
Um One was from Canada and the other one's from the United States.
Oh, okay, cool. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice. Okay.
But I am
And
in
probably
contact.
that's interesting because I'm sure they had a different perspective on things from their own country.
Oh, right. Yes, for sure. But I am in contact with a few other people from the UK. I mean, nothing's
Yeah,
set up yet, but I'm talking to a few other guys. So it is
yeah,
very interesting to get different perspectives, like you say, and with the way they do things, what their specialties are, how they started into the stunt world and whatnot.
yeah, yeah. Sorry, I'm just moving across the way. It's a little bit quieter.
Yeah, no worries. Why don't we touch on one other project? And I was curious because on IMDb, it lists for stunts as uncredited for Star Wars Force Awakens, and you also had a stormtrooper role. But why does it say uncredited for the stunts?
Uh, Wait, can you hear me?
Yep, yep,
You back? Are you there?
yeah,
Right. Oh, okay. All right. I don't know. I've always thought that's yeah. Um, I've always thought that's pretty shit.
yeah. I mean, did you do anything
Can you hear
different?
me?
Anything? Did you do anything less?
Okay.
To make them put that on there?
No, 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 no. It's just simply that some productions they say, well, they'll say, well, we've only got room for 50 names in the stunt team,
Yeah,
or 80 names, or 10 names. You never know. But it's just, I don't know. I think if you've been on there as a stunt with a stunt contract, it doesn't matter if you've done 1 day or 60 days. You know.
right. Yeah,
And the reality is as well, if you go in there for, let's say you go in there for 1 day and you break your leg, then, dude, that day has been just as important from somebody else that's earned 25 times more money,
right.
but has been in 6 weeks. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's kind of
Yeah.
crappy.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, again, some directors and um, some stunt coordinators just like absolutely make sure from the beginning that every stunt coordinator is going to get a credit.
Yeah, yeah. No,
I
that's
just
good.
think they should. I think it's important,
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you put your time and effort into the show, you should get credited for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
So I know you've done a ton of
Come here,
stuff.
Logan. Alex, this is my son.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Say hi.
Hi.
All right. Are you there?
Yeah, so I was just gonna say I know you've done a ton of projects and it might be hard, but is there a favorite? Like, do you have a favorite that you've worked on?
Uh, a favorite. That's tough. I'd have to break that down into categories.
Okay.
So there'd be favorites for different. Yeah, sorry, can't give you a straight answer for that. I
No,
think
no,
there'd be reasons why certain. There'd be reasons why certain things are favorites,
right.
right? I mean, as a stunt coordinator, there's been some jobs that have been favorites.
Yeah.
Things like Killing Eve. You familiar with that?
No, I'm not.
Okay, all right, but there's been certain shows which have stood out because of the people I've been with. Sometimes you're just with a great team,
Yeah.
and it's like that in itself can make the job amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
like you just really gel and you work well together, and that in itself is can be very rewarding. Sometimes it's because the stunts are spectacular, like we were talking about Game of Thrones. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and other times, like, I mean, Expendables was cool just
Yeah.
because, like, yeah, doubling slot. That
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
was cool. Such a
Yeah.
respectful, kind of professional, nice guy to work with.
Right. Legend in the
So yeah,
action
different
industry
different
too.
aspects. Absolutely, yeah, and just to have had that contact and connection. So I think it's just yeah. So I think sometimes it's down to the actual stunts we're doing, and why they're so memorable. Other times it's down to the team, and other times it's just because wow, shit, I'm working with, Robert De Niro. Isn't that amazing? Kind of thing.
Yeah. Right. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
So
Yeah, no.
yeah. So different things stand out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, it's awesome. Well, I'll let you go here. I'll let you get back to your family. I appreciate you giving me some time here. Enjoyed speaking with you and getting a little more into the stunt world.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Alex. Yeah, this is actually we're very fortunate
I think I lost you there for a second.
to see the ocean there. So this is where we do. This is actually where my jiu-jitsu club is.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
you got me
Yeah.
now.
Well,
Okay,
I think I lost you there for a sec. So
all good. Okay, all right. So listen, yeah, good to talk to you. And then I guess once you put this together, you can send me a link or something.
yeah, for sure. I will. I'll edit it up here this week and I'll send it to you.
Sounds good. I'm glad we finally put it together.
Yes, thank you. And enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, dude. And we'll talk again. All right.
Sounds good. See ya. Thanks for listening. Please stay tuned for more episodes soon.